Hi, everyone, and welcome. My name is Grace Safarian. I'm the founder of MBAide by L'Associere, and I'm so excited to bring you our MBAide Spotlight series, where we showcase the journeys of our incredible MBAide associates and the impact they're making with real clients. So today I'm joined by Bryan Bradburn, who's been actively consulting through the MBA platform and has some amazing insights to share. So thank you for being here, Bryan.
Hi, Grace. Thank you very much for having me today.
Yeah, nice to have you here. So let's start with a quick intro. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and what led you into consulting?
Absolutely. My name is Bryan Bradburn. I have actually, for the bulk of my career, worked in commercial operations, sales, account management, marketing, product management, things that would generally be considered customer facing. I recently got my MBA, same school as you. Shout out to Quantic. We have to give them a great word there. And coming out of getting my MBA, I really wanted to sit and think about ways in which I could use the new skill set, use my education. And I'd worked previously in, basically specialty chemicals, food ingredients, oil and gas, fast moving consumer goods. And I didn't really have the whole picture, I think. I was strong in certain places, weak in others. And one of the things that I learned from having worked with consultants at the companies in which I was employed was that they, number one, were able to learn quickly. They learned how to learn. They could become conversant, at least enough to carry on a conversation and ask smart questions quickly. And they were generally, from engagement to engagement, dealing with a variety of different types of businesses. So it was always fresh. It was a chance to learn, a chance to apply the tools they had. So when I saw the postings from you on LinkedIn, I watched. I was like, okay, is this? Yeah, I read more and more about it, and I would read the things that you said. I would read the testimonials from other people on the platform, and it seemed like a very good way to begin getting the experience. And I don't want to say easing into, but a more sane way for someone who is new to the field to begin easing into the customer client exchange and begin building a freelance practice.
Thank you. Oh, that is wonderful to hear. I always find it fascinating how different everyone's journey is into the freelance space. Thank you so much for telling me that. So now let's dive into your MBA experience. What initially motivated you to join MBA and what were you hoping to gain from the platform?
What really got me, I guess, excited about the platform was the fact that at least there initially was the matchmaking piece, right, where you had a chance to find people looking for help. So the even though I come from a sales and marketing background, and I've zero fear about picking up the phone or sending out something on the networking aspect of it, but when you're trying to learn how to consult, trying to learn how to interact with people in that manner, it's like, okay, now I got to try to figure out how to find clients. So the first piece was, of course, the fact that, okay, Grace's platform, MBAide, is going to have the opportunity for us to actually link up with people and begin the conversations and to start a practice, to start interacting with a client. Then there was the fact that there's a community being built here. And I thought, okay, this is, as a freelancer, I've talked with people who do that. I know it can get a little bit lonely. So the fact that there are people around you on that same journey, the fact, well, we've got you, as a matter of fact, we've got you kind of there, sort of helping shepherd us through this, and then we've got our, I would say our the members of our community. I don't want to call it, yeah, colleagues of community, however is best to put it. You're not alone, and you have people that you can learn from. You have people that you can reach out to, and it is a little more of a micro scale. It's the ability to reach out to a small or a medium sized company, work with them. The problems that they're having or the issues that they're having are still uh, in terms of scale large to them. And it's something that a solo practitioner can handle, though. You're not talking about dealing with a company with 120,000 people that's registered on the stock exchange. These are
Mhm.
smaller operations, and these are I think company sizes that are better suited to a solo practitioner and a freelancer.
Yeah, that's true. I always love hearing what drew our members in. There's usually a story behind it. Oh, that's good. Thank you so much. And next question is, since joining, you've had the opportunity to meet with real clients. How has that experience challenged or enhanced the way you use your MBA knowledge?
The first call was terrifying. I've got to go on. I've got to say that out of the gate, Grace. The first call, the first minute and a half was terrifying. And then once you get into the rhythm, you're, oh, okay, this is just me talking to another person where I'm asking questions about their business. I know from the initial introduction that there are certain things that they want to accomplish, certain things that they want to do. And by the end of the call, you've learned a little bit about them. You have a feeling for whether or not they want to go forward. There's going to be a scope of work that you send out. But the biggest thing for me was getting to use parts of my education that I really don't think I would have touched.
Mm,
So, really
yeah.
making that skill set real, you get good at something by doing it, right? So you start to talk about valuation. I studied valuation at Quantic, and I went through the cases, but it was a chance to actually do it in real time, do it with a person who was very patient with me. As I began, our friend KK, shout out to KK, as we started working through this, and it it made that skill set real, something I could apply. And then the other piece of it as well, Grace, is getting exposure to parts of the industry I don't think I would have seen. Not just the functions, but other businesses as well. So that alone made this very fresh as an education.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It's one thing to study case studies, and it's another to live them, right?
It absolutely is right.
Mhm. Okay, so next is, can you share a specific moment or a project where you felt your MBA training really made a difference for the client?
It was the same thing happened with two separate clients,
Mm,
and it was having to pull back and take away the desire to execute. We got to get going on this now. So, no, we need to understand what we're doing and take a more strategic view. So the it was almost a go slow to go fast kind of situation. And the hard part with this is initially you may think you know exactly what's going on. The customer may have client may have some ideas as well, but it's
mm,
that okay, let's just take a second and truly understand what you're trying to get to. And so you think about some of the frameworks that we learned, for instance, in strategy, the VRIO framework, for instance. You know, to be able to pull a customer back and go, listen, let's just work through some questions. You don't say we're going to take you through the VRIO. That's not what you do. But
yeah.
you do begin to ask, hey, listen, in terms of differentiation, what do you have that's valuable that the people you're in the market with don't? Right? Is this rare? Is it unique? Is it something someone can imitate? And you of course want to ask those in an open-ended fashion, but
Mm.
being able to slow down just a little bit and say, listen, let's just work through some frameworks here to understand what you have and understand what you're trying to get to so we can start working backwards. That was, I think, the rush to a solution was what I saw, and having the toolkit allowed me to, if not put the brakes on, at least erect a speed bump so we could slow down and actually have a more meaningful and strategic conversation.
Wow, yeah, that's great. Yeah, these are always the best moments to hear about. They bring the work to life. So,
They
yeah,
do.
great. So, and then how has working with clients through MBA helped you grow professionally?
Really made me jump outside my comfort zone, Grace. So when you get and just for people who aren't familiar with the program, when we go through the matchmaking process, and I hope you don't mind me calling it that, but that's kind of what it is. One of the things that we see as practitioners is the country in which the project will occur. So right then and there, you're looking at it's like, I've had global roles in the past, but to be able to pick and choose, okay, wow, I know this is an interesting place. I know the business environment here is really intense. That might be a really fun one to jump into. So I've had the opportunity to work with a couple of projects that were based in India, which was an absolute blast. It's a very intense business environment you're dealing with. Not to say that all of our clients aren't smart, aren't ambitious, and aren't driven, but it was just a very fun and unique cultural exchange there. So you're going outside your comfort zone. I'm looking at some things here that are okay. Valuation. I'm gonna use that one again. Valuation. I come from a commercial background, but I've got the toolbox. I've got the
Mhm.
training. We're gonna do this. So you begin to branch outside your comfort zone immensely, and you learn too how to become smart on a subject pretty quickly. Not on the valuation piece. We've learned how to do that, hopefully. But
Mhm.
the other piece of it is learn a little bit more about the business and the industry that your client is in. That's
Mhm.
some time outside. Hey, all right, what do I need to learn about, software as a service? What do I need to learn about the use of AI enhancement? So you begin to build your overall experience base as well during the course of the engagement.
Yeah. So as a quick follow-up, have you seen changes in your confidence, communication, or how you approach solving problems?
Very much so. Very much so. It forces you, Grace, to take a more disciplined approach in problem solving. And we all fall into, and I was the kid in elementary school that when the teacher would ask a question, I was raising my hand and want to jump up and give the answer, right?
Mhm.
And you find that going through and learning how to consult, taking the time with clients, it forces you to have discipline in your approach, and it forces you to be much more crisp in how
Mhm.
you communicate. You have to get to the point a little more quickly, and you have to be able to describe your thoughts, the hypothesis, the end state in in plain English. You can't use a bunch of jargon. And one thing I'll say with the MBA program, and I think this is true for any program you go through, there's a lot of jargon,
Yeah.
and I think at times those of us who've gone through that type of education sometimes like to throw the words around a little. That hey, look what I did. I'm smart because I went through this program. But no, you're smart if you can break those ideas down into a point where another smart person can understand them. They may not have the same background, but it makes sense, right? So rather than talk about, well, we're going to talk about the VRIO framework. I'm going to pick on that again, Grace. It's like, no, we're going to understand what makes you unique, and we're going to see just how strong your advantage is. So oh, okay, yeah, I can talk about that. So when someone who may not have the strategy background is being asked to talk about what's important to them, which is their business, you're going to get a strong, passionate, smart response back, as opposed to someone who's like, I don't know about this framework. I've never heard of this. I don't feel comfortable with this. No, tell me about what you do, and that changes the nature of the conversation.
Yeah, that's something we hear often, that with each client, you grow more into your role as a consultant. Yeah. So good. And then many MBA grads struggle with turning theory into action. So how has MBA helped bridge that gap for you?
It oh, that's a great. So I, I I've got to tell you, the first thing you realize is that you have a legitimate functional toolbox. And
Mm,
even if you initially maybe are a little afraid to try it, there's that, oh, I've got to do this for real. I've not really had a chance to. There comes a point where it's like, you know what, you're going to learn how to do it by doing it, and you gain confidence through the actual use of the skills. You
mhm.
begin to do it, you begin to use it, you become more and more conversant in it. It becomes second nature, and that ability to do something successfully, and the first couple of times, I mean, let's be honest, Grace, it's one thing to do it once again, it's one thing to do it in the class. It's another thing entirely when you're having to sit there and you're having to think a little bit about it. But you realize, you know what? This is just a little bit of prep work ahead of time, a little bit of review, a little bit of practice. At this point, jump right back in with a client, and you realize, you know what? No, this is. I was well prepared for this, and it's just a matter of jumping in and doing it and doing my best for the client.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. I think this is such an important point. Applying the learning is where the real growth happens. Yeah. What type of clients or industries have you found most rewarding to work with so far, and why?
I've got to say the tech clients. The tech clients have been fun. I've never really been exposed to that, Grace. And it's, you hear about it all the time. You hear about the players, and you find that the things that the work they're doing is just so different from what I've done previously. But then the problems are the same. If it's once I'm gonna pick on valuation again, you're looking at strategy, you're looking at business development. Those are agnostic skills. They don't care which industry they're being used on. But getting to learn a little bit more about, the sales, the SaaS platform, the PaaS platforms, looking more at AI. These are just things that you hear a lot about in the business press. Even in the business press, you read about them on LinkedIn, and then to have the firsthand exposure to it, the ability to put my hands on these things and to talk with people about them, you learn from it. You become more conversant, and it's just a very, very different world than where I come from, which recently has been oil and gas. So this is a lot more fun in a sense, in that it's new and it's fresh.
Yeah, some of our MBAs find themselves drawn to industries they didn't expect, so it's good.
That's exactly in my case. That's it. This has been a lot of fun learning about what those clients are doing, and what matters to them and what they're trying to get done.
Yeah. Yeah, every client interaction teaches us something. So, how have your meetings helped you sharpen your consulting skills or mindset?
The first thing you notice or you realize is that you want to get better at it, right? I think there comes a point where I don't care what you've done previously. I don't care what your education is in. You will find that there's a skill set that's unique to consulting, and you really do. It's like, okay, if this is what I'm going to do, I want to take this seriously. I want to give my clients the best experience I can possibly give them. So I need to get better at consulting. And you start finding the resources. I mean, there's number one, there's talking with you, there's talking to our colleagues, and then you start looking around more, and there are classes, there are books you can read. And I can tell you, for me, there's a gentleman named John Kim. He's got a great course on Coursera. Peter Block, Flawless Consulting, and both of those were resources that allowed me to stop and think and say, okay, this is how a professional does this. And if I'm going to become a practitioner, I want to become a professional. That means I've got to put the work in. I've got to understand what the process is like. How does a consultant think? How does a consultant interact with their clients? And Grace, the short answer is, how has it changed what I do? It made me want to get better at this and become a student of the game.
Yeah, it's kind of like every client is its own real-time case study, right?
Absolutely. And it really is. That's absolutely right.
hmm Okay, and next is what's been the most surprising lesson or insight you've gained from these experiences?
I think what I was surprised by was, if you go into this with the right intent into a client engagement,
Yeah.
if the client knows that you have their best interest in mind, if they know that and I actually told one of the first people I spoke with that, hey, at the end of the day, you're paying me to worry for you. I'm worrying about your problems so you don't have to. I think what you find is that you can build rapport quickly. You can begin building a relationship quickly, and you can begin building trust quickly. And I think I was shocked
Yes.
by how fast that happens. And I believe that your client can tell if you're serious about trying to help them and if you're trustworthy. If they
hmm
can take you seriously and they know that you have their best interest in mind, I think that rapport will build pretty quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, I love this one. It's where we usually hear those aha moments. So good to hear that. Yeah. Great. And so MBA also offers branding sessions, mentorship, and networking. How have those supported your growth?
Branding was the biggest one.
Mm.
And you hear it said, Grace, people say it all the time, you are the brand. That's the thing. As a freelancer, as a solo practitioner, it's, I mean, you're the face of MBA, right? This is your baby. This is, you're driving the mothership, right? For those of us who are taking part in this, or part of your community, or part of your tribe, we learn from the interactions that we have with Sam, the brand coach. We got a shout out to Sam here, who's our guide here. It's helping us with this. The information she gives you, what she shares with us, helps us realize that no, you are, and to an extent, you're almost always on, Grace. When you think about it, it changes how you think about yourself, right? It changes how you interact with the people around you. At that point in time, you're thinking, no, I'm the brand, and it dictates the way I approach people from a business standpoint, the way I deal with people in other aspects of my life. And you realize that the things you say, the things you do, the way you portray yourself on social media, the way you portray yourself in business situations, at the end of the day, it's reflective upon your brand. And if your brand includes being able to build rapport, to be trustworthy, you have to live up to that. There's a standard that you should be setting for yourself that's reflective of your brand. And if you don't live up to it, your brand's not going to live either.
Yeah, yeah, it's always great to hear how the platform is helping beyond just client projects. Yeah,
Well,
nice.
and there's one, and I got to talk about the client projects for just a second, Grace. I can't leave that part out. And once
Mm,
again, um, and for people who are unclear or not sure about how the process works, one of the things that happens is Grace lets us know, hey, we have someone here. This is what they're talking about. Is this something you're interested in? And honestly, initially, I'll be, oh, I don't know anything about that. I'm not comfortable with that. Now I'm like, I'm gonna talk to them because you have absolutely nothing to be afraid of in talking with them. You may have that initial conversation, and you may come away saying, "Yeah, I may not be the right person for this. Let's go back to Grace and figure out who the right person is." Or you may both say, "You know what? This is a unique perspective this person's bringing. This is a project or a business I've never seen, but I really want to learn about it." And you can connect that way. So that matchmaking process is another piece of this that makes it very, I think, very, very valuable. A great reason to take part.
that's great to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And finally, for MBAs who are thinking about freelance consulting but haven't taken that step yet, what advice would you give them about joining MBA?
First thing is come in with an open mind and with a lot of humility, because
Mhm.
because y- I, I I don't care what you thought you knew before. It's only going to get you part of the way there. And also, if you're humble, you're going to be prepared to fall down but get back up. Right? It's not as, and I think we've all, before you do this, we've all been on those engagements. If you've worked in a company and they brought the consultants in and you've seen the consultants come in, and part of you is like, what do they do? When you start getting a taste of it, you realize this is harder than people think it is. And there's a whole lot more going on from a soft skills standpoint, from an interpersonal standpoint. That's the part that I've found most intriguing, I think. Um, the other piece of this, when you come on a platform like this, you if you have a facilitator or the person who runs or drives the platform, you know, be transparent with and in constant communication with the person who runs it. In this case, Grace, that would be you. You and I talk frequently, and
Mhm.
it's one of those things I find helpful to me to kind of keep my bearing, to know what I'm doing. And the other piece of it is when you come in, part of the platform, any one of these platforms, is it's designed to give you a community. Be a part of the community. Take
Yeah.
part. This is the thing. This is your tribe, and you're going to be surrounded by people with different skill sets than you. If they're doing this, they're going to be a smart, ambitious person. You stand to learn a great deal from them, but be active, take part, and you'll find it really is one of those things that you get out of it what you put into it. And from a freelance standpoint, it's nice not being alone. It's nice knowing that there are people that you can interact with, talk with, and maybe trade experiences with. I mean, even something as simple, hey, does anyone, I'm not kidding, I've seen this. Is there a book you'd recommend we read? Yeah, right there. You get these suggestions. Is there somebody who knows a resource for this? Same thing again. People will jump in and help you if you ask. So that it's the number one thing, open minded and humble. Number two, come in, be prepared and excited about being part of the community. Those would be my two key takeaways.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the advice they need to hear Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, thank you so much, Brian. It's been such a pleasure hearing about your journey, and I know your story will inspire other MBA professionals looking to make that leap into consulting. And we're so proud to have you as part of the MBA community. And to all other MBAs out there, if you're looking for a way to apply your expertise or gain real world consulting experience and make an impact with growing businesses, we'd love to have you join us. And you can apply today at www.lassociere.com/join and start your MBA journey.